This is FlashCast by PDB. Today's episode, I want to touch on something that I find very profound and turn it around and put it a bit into my own perspective and words. But it's based on the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. So the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, something that I think is really cool, and another way to look at life and look at the way that you behave as a person and develop mindset. And this all flows into obviously the concept of being in growth mindset, not in fixed mindset, which is where we want to play. Obviously, I talk a lot about that because everything is about the mindset, what's going on in the engine room, which is between our ears. So today's episode is around the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and I'm going to put my own little spin on it. But number 1, he talks about being impeccable with your word. And to me, that's all about integrity. The concept of integrity, the difference in what you say and what you do. So when you say something, mean it. When you mean it, you do it. And that to me is somebody that has integrity. So always being impeccable with your word, making sure that you speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. This is something that Don Miguel talks about. It's something that I've always talked about, is that don't say anything about anyone else that you're not prepared to say to their face or already have. That's the difference between, bitching and carrying on and gossiping, is that you're saying something about someone that you've already told them or you're prepared to tell them directly to them. This is about being impeccable with your word. This is what integrity to me is all about, is never say anything about someone you're not prepared to tell them directly, already have. And unfortunately, as I've experienced many times, is as part of being impeccable with your word, it's all about being authentic. And if you're authentic, people aren't always going to like you. But again, as I say, it's not a popularity competition. It's not about being liked. When I pass away, not everyone's going to say I like that guy for whatever reason, but they will say that I was authentic, that I was always impeccable with my word and I did what I said I would do. So that's my own spin on obviously Don Miguel Ruiz's first agreement of being impeccable with your word, and it's how I apply it to my life. Number 2 is don't take anything personally. Now, this is something that obviously I still need to work a lot on, being of Italian descent, and Italians are known for being fiery and passionate and getting offended easily. That I'm guilty of. This is one area that I really need to work on and always am conscious about, is trying not to take anything personally, because that is so much easier said than done. But Don Miguel talks about it as nothing others do it is because of you. They don't do things because of you. They do it because of themselves. So trying to understand the why is something there that helps me in this area. And again, I'll keep saying it. This is not an area of expertise for me. I'm guilty of taking things personally many times. But I do try and pause and have a look at the why, in why somebody is doing what they are doing. And that's probably a good way to distance yourself from yourself. But again, something very difficult. He talks about what others say and do as a projection of their own reality and their own dream. So, if we can put that into perspective, if you can always sit there and say, well, what somebody else is doing is their reality, not your reality. So why should I take this personally? Again, a lot easier said than done. And and he goes on to say that when you're immune to the opinions and action of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. And how true is that? And something obviously to aspire to. And again, I aspire to this, to be able to be conscious, to not take things personally, because it's true. When you get immune to the opinions of others, well, you don't become the victim of needless suffering. Control what you can, influence what you'd like to, and get rid of the rest. Number 3 of the 4 agreements is don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and express what you really want, and communicate with others clearly as you avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and dramas. And this is an area that I believe I do very well, and I'm very conscious of, is that I'm always asking questions. I always talk about good leaders ask good questions. I encourage my children to ask questions. I say to people, don't assume things. Always seek clarity. I also talk about communication is the common denominator of failure. And things fail when people don't communicate. And more importantly, when you look at the 4 agreements and number 3, don't make assumptions, that is a very, very good way to explain why communication is a common denominator of failure, is because people spend a lot more time assuming rather than finding out what the real situation is. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. Don Miguel says, you can transform your position in life by not making assumptions, but rather seeking clarity, asking questions, finding out what is really happening rather than assuming what is happening and going off on a tangent that could be completely wrong. So number 3, don't make assumptions. Number 4 in the 4 agreements is always do your best. Something you hear me talk about. Be the best you can be, which is the basis of why I started these flashcasts, is to help people accelerate their potential. I believe that I'm at my best when I'm trying to be my best, but when I'm trying to help others be their best. And Don Miguel talks about always doing your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick. It will be different, from one day to another. But you're constantly in this mindset of doing your best under any circumstance. Just simply do your best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse and regret. And not a truer word could be said, because one of the concepts I talk about, in doing a quick self-check, if you're doing your best, is the following, and something I really want the listeners to take away with. Am I doing the best that I can with the resources that I have, with the time that it's happening? And this one simple 3-step question that I ask myself at all times has helped me in many situations. It's helped me, stay in growth mindset, and it's helped me move away from anger. It's helped me in a myriad of different situations. It simply is a self-check. It takes 10 seconds. Am I doing the best with the resources that I have at the time that it's happening? And if the answer is yes, yes, and yes, then I am doing my best. Get rid of the self-judgment, get rid of the self-abuse, get rid of the regret, and be positive. So in summary, a great way to look at life, a great way for us to get the best out of ourselves and even others and influence them, is the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, be the best you can be, stay in growth mindset, and make sure that you go out and live life and enjoy everything that you do with everything that you have. You've been listening to Phil DeBella, and this is FlashCast by PDB.